All right, welcome back basically to another video. So in this video, I'll be basically talking about my newest indicator called the Legacy Pro Edge. Now with this indicator should be actually a non-repainting indicator, hopefully, but this obviously was not tested on a demo account yet. So we're gonna be beta testing this for the next 1 month. I'm hoping it doesn't repaint because it's supposed to wait for the candle to close before it actually confirms the signal. So it should not repaint. If it does repaint, and that's going to be very disappointing. But I've been looking at the chart basically all this week, just analyzing the trades on it, and I didn't really see anything changing. Everything seems to be basically the same. So I'm not seeing any repainting, like any trades basically changing its signals and movement. It seems like it's all been fixed. It's a good sign, but the only way to really know is really through, obviously demo testing this just to really confirm that it does not repaint. Now this does actually look similar to the Legacy Sniper bot. Visually, it does look similar, but in terms of logic wise, it's completely different. The logic is not the same. Obviously with this one, I'm not gonna really explain what the logic is, but let me actually show you the settings. So we have the Legacy Pro Edge. So if you want to actually demo test this or beta test this for the next 1 month, it's only available for the Legacy Prime members. So if you go to the settings, it's really quite simple. You can basically enable the long trades, enable the short trades, and then you can obviously enable the session filter. I advise keeping both of them on, and then session time zone, obviously EST. And then you have the option to actually enable the Asia session, basically from 1800 to midnight. And then you can also limit the number of trades. So obviously, if you do uncheck this, it will take unlimited number of trades. And this is a strategy script, by the way. So there's that, or you can check that and you can set how many trades you want. Let's say 3 trades max. So you can look at the P&L, you can change that to 2, and then of course that's going to change, and you can change that to 1, and that's also going to change as well. So I see 1 actually gave a really big P&L, but let's stick to 3 for now. London session, same thing, you can check that. Have a trade from basically from midnight. The default is actually 8 o'clock, but I did change the time to 6:30. Then because I'm actually PST, so 6:30 is actually basically New York session for me. And then you can obviously enable limit London trades, also 3 max, because I want to take just 3 trades for Asia and 3 trades for London and see how it does. But obviously you can always experiment with this. You can also do the exact same thing with New York session as well, but I don't really like to actually trade the New York session. I don't think it really does well in terms of automation because of the manipulation going on. But you can actually see how it does. Maybe you want to just take 1 trade. So not bad. It does actually decrease the P&L. So 3, so 2, let's try 3. So yeah, so it does actually decrease the P&L. So I prefer not to trade the New York session. I think New York session is just better for manual traders. So because of the institutional traders, smart money concepts, a lot of manipulation going on, taking out the highs and lows. So I think it works better in terms of London session, in terms of the P&L strategy report. Then obviously you have the cooldown period, so you can check that. This is in minutes, so you can always adjust how many minutes you want. I just check that, just perhaps 5 minutes. And then this is the fast EMA link. I set that by default 21, slow EMA link default 50. I leave that as the default. I think 21 Infinity works really well. But you can always change the numbers, try different combos, and see if you can get a better report. And then the momentum sensitivity, there is an exclamation mark if you don't know what it means. So basically, this controls how responsive the internal momentum engine is. So the lower values react a lot faster to price movement, while the higher value provides a smoother confirmation. And I keep this as 14 by default, but you can always change this up, like increase or decrease it, and see if you can get a better combo going on. Then this is the bullish confidence level. Obviously the higher the number is, so basically it's set to 55, so meaning it has to be above 55 in order for it to take basically a buy signal. So the higher the number is, then the higher, confidence level it has to be. So it may take longer to actually, get that long signal. So bearish confidence level is 45 by default. So anything below 45, it will take a sell signal. Okay, so you can always experiment with this. Just know if you do lower the number, then it's gonna increase the length, or basically increase how long it takes for it to get a sell signal. But I find 55, 45 by default to work well, but you can always adjust it and come up with different combinations of that. Okay. And I also added this part as well. This is the higher time frame confluence, but this is completely optional, but I'm keeping this one off. But you can always check the higher time frame confluence, and you do have the option to choose either regular candlesticks or the Heiken Ashi candlesticks. And then you can also enable the first time frame and the second time frame, and then of course adjust if you want 5 minutes. This is actually in minutes, by the way, or 30 minutes, similar to the sniper bot, but I don't think it actually works that well, because I see it decreasing the PNL a lot. But you can always test it out, try to see if you can come up with a better combination using this as well. But like I said, this is completely optional. It just adds an additional confluence basically to the logic. So meaning, let's say you have all this enabled, meaning it does have to be above, for example, buy signal, it has to be above 55 basically on the first time frame. In the second time frame you set, as well as your current time frame you are trading on. So all three has to be met for a buy signal to generate. So that's basically how that works. But I usually just keep that off. But by all means, feel free to experiment with it and see if you can come up with better combinations with it. Then obviously we do have the take profit and stop loss level. You do have the option to change to points, ticks, money, percentage, or pips if you are trading Forex. I personally use points. I have 50 points for take profit, 45 points for stop loss at the moment. This does not matter unless you're trading Forex, so you can just ignore this pip multiplier. I will be probably adding another update after this week. After 1 week of testing, I may actually do TP1, TP2, like different TP levels, similar to that sniper bot. So you can always take out and stuff like that. So I may actually do that maybe after 1 week, just to see how 1 week of testing does with this setting so far. And then I added the break even feature. So I do have this enabled. So break even point. So basically once it moves basically 30 points, basically in profit, then that's when it actually, that's when it can actually trigger the break even. So meaning if it goes, let's say, so since I have a 50 point on take profit, and it basically moved 30 points in profit zone, but let's say it actually reversed, then that's the break even trigger point. So it will actually stop me out for break even. But since I have this break even offset points as 5, it will actually stop me 5 points above my entry point, my entry level. So meaning I'll gain a profit of 5 points if it does reverse on me. So that's basically how that works, okay? So if you set it to 20 points, so it will move into 20 points, and once it reverses, it will stop you out at break even. But obviously if it moves, let's say 25 points and reverse, then yeah, it can still stop me out for a full stop loss, since it did never hit my 30 point for break even. So that's how that works. Then you guys should know about the Martingale feature. So this base contract quantity is for so this is actually where you set your position sizing. So I'm doing 4 contracts, so I changed that to 4. Enable Martingale does not have to be checked. It's just automatic for base quantity. So this is where you adjust your contract sizing, not properties, okay? It does not matter what number you change this, it's not going to change anything on the chart, okay? So it's only going to go off based on what this is. For those who don't know what Martingale is, so for example, let's say if you do actually enable this, and let's say I set my base contract to 4, okay? Multiply after loss is 2. Max Martingale steps is 3. So what does that mean? It means once it takes a trade, if it loses, the next trade will be multiplied by 2. So meaning 4 times 2, so the next trade is going to be 8 contracts, right? So for example, let's actually look at a chart, or let's look at the strategy. Let's see. Here's a good one. So, so it took a trade, right? So this trade obviously lost. So what happened? So since my base contract was 4, I took a loss. The next contract, it's gonna take 4 times 2, so 8 contracts on this one. But fortunately, that was also a loss too, so it's gonna take 8 times 2. So the next contract is going to be 16. Okay, to make up for this loss. But it only does it 3 times, okay? So here's another example, this one. So it took a trade, right? 4 contract was the base, it took a loss. Next contract, it's gonna multiply by 2. So 4 times 2, obviously 8 contracts. It took a loss. So what happened? It's gonna take another multiply by 2. So obviously 8 times 2 is 16. It took another loss. And what happened? It's going to multiply again by 2 to make up for all of these losses, right? But since I set my Martingale steps to 3, it only multiplies it by 3 times. So that's 1, 2, and 3, right? So this would be the max. So if it takes another loss, then the next one will still be at 32. But if it takes a winner, then it's gonna go back to 4 again. So that's how that works. But if we're going to be using the Martingale feature, I would recommend disabling the break even feature, because if it takes a win and then it just breaks even, it's basically useless, if that makes sense. Meaning, so for example, it takes a win. Actually, I think I saw an example somewhere. Let me take a look real quick. Just saw a really good example. Let's just go on this one. So obviously this one was a loss, right? So the next one was 2. So obviously the purpose of this was to make up for this loss and gain more in profit, but obviously break even enabled on this one. So which means it was basically a loss in general. So if you're going to be using Martingale, you want to disable the break even feature. But I don't really recommend using the Martingale feature for fund accounts. It's fine for eval accounts just to really pass faster, but I don't recommend using it really for fund accounts unless if you have like a really good large balance. But it's really up to you to decide on that though. But obviously you can change this. Obviously it resets after winning trades. So yeah, so I usually gonna keep that disabled, and then you should know these features by Conflux. So obviously enable stop after consecutive winners. So meaning if you actually check that, you do have 1 to 10 you can select for this one. Let's say we wanted to 2, for example, and this one you can enable this, so it will actually stop after 2 losses consecutively for the remainder of the day. And this does reset at Asia Open at 1800 EST, okay? So if you enable these 2, so you'll take a look. So it took a winner this by loser, then back in another winner. And then it took basically another winner. Well, actually this is break even, but unfortunately this does actually count. So this would be actually considered 2 winners at this point. So so after that it didn't really took another trade. So let me see if I can find another example. So obviously this was not consecutive, it just loss, win, loss. This was 2 winners back to back, and as you can see, no third trade was taken. So that's basically how that works. Self-explanatory. This can be useful if you are taking a lot of trades within one session, or at least within a day. So that can be quite useful as well. So you can actually experiment with different combos on that. And then obviously we do have the enable contract cut down sizing after winners. So if you check this, and I have 4 contracts, so what's going to happen, it's just going to decrease it by 1 contract. So for example, so this was a loser, so it still stayed 4. This was a winner, so the next contract was 2-3. Then this was a winner, 3 contracts, so it cut down by 2. And this was obviously break even, so just 1 contract. So that's actually really good for basically risk management, and you can actually select all 3 of them, but always demo test and experiment with different combos and see which one works best. And then you can always customize the the color zones as well. So that's pretty much all so far in this. But some of the updates I may be doing after 1 week is obviously I'm going to be adding TP levels like TP1, TP2, TP3. And there was something else I was going to be adding after 1 week. And also make sure that you do have on-bar close check as well. And that's pretty much it so far with the settings. Even though I made this indicator, it does not mean I know all the best settings. I do not know the best combination, so that's why I'm relying on the members of the Legacy Discord to find the best settings. Well, no such thing as best settings, but find the most profitable settings and profitable combinations. You can find, obviously there will be losing trades and losing days. This is brand new, so I don't advise using this on a funded account or an eval account. You can by all means use it on an eval account if you want to. That's completely up to you. But I would prefer demo testing this. It may take probably a few bad days, maybe even a few bad weeks, just to really find the best settings that we can actually share with the rest of us, so we can really benefit of this. But this is the stretch report. I'm hoping that this is actually accurate, but like I said, the only way we can really tell is through demo testing. So if you do last 7 days, let's see what that looks like. So last 7 days did really good. We did last 30 days. Not bad. About last 90 days. I'm still experimenting, trying to find different settings. I will also be demo testing this myself starting next week on my demo account once I finalize my settings as well. But other than that, this is my newest indicator, and also on the Legacy Sniper bot. I do use 5 evals. I'm not 5 evals. I do 5 contracts when it comes to evals, so I can pass faster. And on my fund account, I do use 3 contracts on my fund account. I like to make 1 chart basically for my funded account, which has 3 contracts, and then 1 chart for my eval account, which actually has 5 contracts. And so far I did pass 2 evals last week, and I passed 2 last night, and then I think I have 3 more about to pass next week as well. And if you guys don't know, I was actually called up to my live fund account on Top Step. Honestly, it was actually kind of disappointing because I was about to take out $10,000 and pay out basically today. I went on a winning streak with this sniper bot basically all 5 days this week. And I would have got basically a payout of $10,000 today. I would have took out $2,000 on each account for $10,000. But after Sunday's trading, I got called up to live account, and that does take up to 8 days. So all my fund accounts was actually on pause. But I just got my live fund account just today. And my balance technically is actually over $20,000, but with a live fund account, they only let you trade with 20% of that. But since 20% of 20,000 is basically less than 10,000, it actually rounds up to $10,000. So meaning $10,000 would technically be the minimum you would actually trade with. And then you just have to work your way up basically to that $20,000. They do increment of 3,000, I believe. So you have to work your way up in order to unlock your full balance. So we'll see how this goes. It's actually my first time being on live, and I only requested one payout really 3 weeks ago, and then after one day of training this week, I got caught up to live. So that was extremely fast, and that's all by using the Legacy Sniper bot. If you do want to access, the link is actually in my description, and you do get full access to my Discord community as well. And of course, you do get access to my full mentorship coaching. I'll definitely assist you when it comes to automation, because I've been automating this. Well, not this specifically, but I've been in the automation, um, you know, strategies since last year. And obviously, this is only like $40 per month, so it's pretty cheap, and you do get access to like 10 TradingView indicators. But the sniper bot is probably the main one that everyone is actually using, and they've been actually crushing evals and getting payouts on last week and this week as well. Well, other than that, that's all I'll be mentioning in this video, and I'll catch you guys in the next week's video. Peace.